Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Another day's journey, and so glad about and so grateful for so many of you that are joining us, have been joining us, adjusting to us doing things a little differently with this 5 o'clock prayer. Just remember, back during COVID, we started this 5 o'clock prayer just to keep in contact and to keep checking in with each other to point towards the next week. But you know, something else happened during COVID, and that is Andrea Lawful Sanders was on the radio and she was having conversations with people. And then we needed to start talking about what was going on with COVID. You all will remember I had COVID and I had COVID when it was scary. Because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was happening. In fact, I had it at the same time Tom Hanks and Chris Cuomo had it. And you remember Chris Cuomo tried to come on television, ABC, each night and was trying to die, scaring me half to death because I'm like, when am I going to start looking like that? But it was during that time that Andrea reached out and said, let's talk about this. And it turned into every Tuesday just having a conversation about whatever was going on. And then after the coast was clear with me and COVID, then there was George Floyd. And after George Floyd, then there was the elections and all of this stuff. And so we've been doing that. We did that for 4 years. What is this that we're doing right now? One of the things that we're doing as Andrea continues to stretch her wings and as she continues to represent us both in the county and in the state and literally around the country. I wanted the people who listen to me to also know about her next season as it relates to a podcast, as it relates to how she'll continue doing what she has always been doing, and that is speaking up for our people. I met Andrea first, years ago. It has to be almost 25 years ago when they started working with the Black students out in Abington. And there's a program called Vibe. I had a chance to come out as a young preacher to talk to the Black kids in the community. And there Andrea was. And so part of this is us doing this period so that those of you who listen to me will then also begin to listen to that podcast. And she's going to tell us more about that. But for now, literally the last 4.5 years, at least once a week, we had been having a conversation for the benefit of our people. And I wanted to do that as well. So that's what this is. And I want to thank you for all of the emails and letters that have been coming in to tell us what you think. I thank you for the critique and I thank you for the affirmation. One of the things that I do want to do with this setup and with this context is continue to have a conversation with the next generation. I need you to know, Patty Jackson, part of this is you also inspiring me because all of that stuff you do with Auntie on Instagram and what you're doing with millennials. I think all of us who are in this season need to think about how we have conversation with those who are both on deck and moving into a new season. So thank you for that. And thank you for understanding what we are attempting to do. Now, tonight, I am grateful because we have someone who I have the utmost respect for because he's boots on the ground, hands on the plow, making a difference in the community. And he helps give leadership now he's going to say somebody else is the president. Let me just tell you, he gives leadership to an organization called Men Who Care of Germantown. You know him. He's Brother Joe Budd of Men Who Care of Germantown. Joe, we want to thank you for being here and being a part of this conversation. I think I've known you known of you almost all of my 30 years. Because when I first came to Enon, you had a niece that was a part of this church, Martina. Mm-hmm. And she used to just talk about her Uncle Joe. And you were at another church. That's what you're supposed to say when you don't want to name where people came from, the other church. But you have always been a respected OG, a respected man, both in your family, in the community. I haven't found anybody that's going to say anything bad about you. Not that I'm looking for bad, but you are all around good guy that's making a difference in the community. We're talking about voting. We're talking about serving our community. But we thank you for being a part of this conversation today. And can you just tell us a little bit about why Men Who Care, why you started it, why you all started it, and what it does?
Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate that. Coming from you, that is just an honor to hear that coming from you. And I just want to say, Pastor, you have supported Men Who Care even up until recently doing something in the community. So Pastor's been out there with us in the struggle, you know. But yeah, my name is Joe Budd. I am the co-founder of Men Who Care of Germantown. We actually started in 2011. And I think it was just God's hand at that time because I wasn't planning to come into Germantown and do the work that we're doing. And I'm gonna keep it 100. One of our guys that we grew up with came home from jail and he called me. His name is George Waters. Big guy, 6'3", 300 and something pounds. He used to be the cat that put you in the trunk if you need to put somebody in the trunk. Y'all say keep it 100, right? Yes. So he called me and he said, Joe, let's get together. He was in jail for a few years. He said, let's get together. I said, George, I don't really hang out anymore. I'm in the church now. So he continued to call and he continued to call week after week, and he was very persistent for about a month. I said, all right, George, I got a building down at Morton and Tappahocken, which used to be the bar that we used to hang out in. I got a building down there. Let's meet down there. So we got down there and we started talking. And out of that conversation, we said, let's do something in the community. That was 2011. We called about 6 guys that we used to hang out with, and we met and we had sessions for about 3 weeks. We started engaging seniors and helping the seniors because we found out that seniors were afraid to come out of their houses because there was a lot going on in the community. So we said, all right, what else can we do? We end up going to the corner. Pastorius and Baton is a hot corner right now. If you heard of P&B Rock, that is that corner. That's the corner we used to hang out on. We went down there and cleaned up the weeds. It was overgrown. So we cleaned that up, engaging the young boys. The young boys on the corner actually help us clean that lot. So this is a way we engage seniors and young people at the same time to help our seniors come out. From that, it grew to going into schools, engaging our young people in schools, food distribution. And that building that I talked about is right now our resource center. That is where we have after school programs, and it's a full-fledged pantry. But we got together because we knew that we had done some things in the community that we weren't proud of. And this was a way to give back to our community, and the violence was going crazy. So we just felt like we would be credible messengers, able to engage our young people and bring resources. One of the things we say all the time is EBB, engage them where they are, build relationships, and then bring resources. So we have several programs going on right now, Pastor, that we're able to engage the community on different levels.
Gotcha. And I appreciate that. I know that it is working. I like to refer to the Men Who Care of Germantown as like the street deacons of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. They're not all members of Enon, not all Christians. There's some Muslims. And this is a place where Isaac and Ishmael work together for the burying of Abraham. So I just think that you're doing a fantastic job. You are in the schools, and there's documented proof that it's working. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the schools?
Yeah, strategically, we said we're going to go into schools because we recognize that every shooter at one time has been in a school. So we said, how can we engage them? And our motto is catch them before the streets catch them. So we're in every level of school, from elementary through to high school. We actually started in middle school. Roosevelt Middle School is the school we started in. And then that grew to Martin Luther King High School. Then we went to Emlyn Elementary. Now we're in Emlyn, Roosevelt, Martin Luther King, Pennell, and Wagner. So the goal is to catch them before the streets catch them. So we have engaged them on every single level. Matter of fact, today I was there, and we had 45 young men in our session. We have 30 young ladies in our session. One of the things we ask them every New Year is, what do they really want to talk about? This year, those high school students said they want to talk about gun violence. They want to talk about relationships, right? So because we talk about building relationships to bring resources, that was powerful to hear that from them. Say they want to talk about relationships, but they definitely wanted to talk about gun violence. So it is important that you build relationships in order to bring resources to our young people. So that is our goal, to engage them at every level. The transition from middle school to high school is traumatic for our young men because they're changing. You know, the old folks used to say they smelling themselves. They start smelling themselves. So when they get in high school, the ninth graders, they just run them up because the structure isn't there. So they're allowed to do a lot of things in the school, and they're starting to buck up because they want to show that they're tough. So we want to catch, those are the ones that we want most in high school, and the ones getting ready to leave high school and to go into real life, talk to them about jobs and things of that nature.
Got you. So when you think about doing your work, and then I know that Andrea is ready to dive in here, but when you think about doing your work, what then does this election cycle, how does that impact you? The whole conversation. A couple of weeks ago, you let me come to one of your men's meeting on a Monday night at the Germantown Seventh-day Adventist Church, and thank you for that. You had an array of other leaders. I think that was a very powerful moment. You had rappers, you had other groups, Every Murder is Real, Action Justice Collective, and the different guys were in there, and we were all talking about what we want to do. I was there to get people to sign up to get on the polls. What does this election cycle mean to the work that you do, and what are you thinking about the voting stuff?
I think this election cycle is very, very important because we need funding to continue the work that we're doing. Not every politician is as engaging in providing resources for us to do the work that we need to do. So we got to make sure that we're getting people in spaces to pass legislation, first of all, that is going to benefit our community. That is very, very important. Pass legislation about funding that is going to get directly to boots on the grounds. As we know, there's a lot of money that come into communities, but it don't always get to those that are doing the work on the ground. Or if it does, it's pennies on a dollar. So we want to make sure that our people are voting. These young people that we talk to that are of voting age and pre-voting age, we want to make sure that they understand. They have to be educated on how it's going to benefit them when you get the right people in spaces, even down to when you go to stand in front of that judge for a criminal case or whatever you have. Is that judge going to put you in a diversionary program, or are they going to give you 5 years in jail? Right? It depends on who's there, what kind of time you're going to get. So if you're invested in the voting process, you may have someone that says, okay, we understand where you come from and what you were going through, and you should not get 5 years when we can put you in a diversionary program. We know you don't have a record. I'll give you an example. A young man in our program, 8th grade, was shot in the stomach by his brother or brother's friend. It was accidental shooting, right? So we went to visit the mother. We visited the young man, and the mother was there, and we were talking to him and his mother. And the mother said her son has a case now that he may be going to jail because of an accidental shooting of her other son. So the trauma that she's going through right now, her son has been shot. Her other son is going to go to jail. They're prosecuting him. Young man has never been into trouble before, and he's in special needs program. Now they're prosecuting him to send him to jail. Will he be eligible for a diversionary program, right? It sounds perfect for that. But if you get the wrong judge, they're going to give him time. Right. So elections are important, even on the local level. Wow. And then on the state level with legislation for funding and all of those things, I think it is so important that we get involved to make sure we're getting the right people in those spaces.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Andrea.
I have so many questions for you. I don't even know where to start. So first of all, I heard about you when I was in North Penn in 2011. what drew me to you was when either your niece, who was in a class of mine, began talking about you're getting ready to start this thing in Philadelphia. I am intrigued by people who love young people, who understands what it means to be in their spaces and to listen to them and not to preach to them. You've been very good at this. You've figured out ways to sustain yourself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the sustainability, but I want to ask you this question. This work that you're doing that needs funding, where do you see the district attorney's office and the police commissioner in helping you to navigate with these children? Because, and I call them children, people believe that by the time Black children get to the age of 10, they should be treated as adults. They have the same things going on with them. They're experiencing all kinds of crazy things in the streets, right? Going to and from school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to go through all that because it happens. What do you think the police commissioner and the district attorney's office could do to partner with and help you with these young people as they go through? And then the second question is, what is the messaging that we could use to help parents instead of denigrating and judging them based on what's going on with their children? What's the message we can do to help those parents in their communities? Because they're struggling.
Wow, powerful questions. As far as the police commissioner, I know that the current police commissioner has started diversionary programs. Yes. So that is so important, because if the police don't see what's happening in the community or understand what's happening in the community, they don't know how to address our young people, the trauma that our young people go through, the issues that they go through. They don't understand that. So it's all about law enforcement. It's all about the code of law and what time you should get for this and that, not understanding the full impact of their environment. Our young people tell us all the time, you know, what else are we going to do? That's all we see. Yeah. They tell us that all the time. But if we can help them at that point of need, I think we can make a difference by providing programs that when they get cases, that it's not always they go to jail, right? For the DA's office also. Right. They don't always have to go to jail. Look at the full story. Look at the family structure. Look at the support that organizations such as mine would give to some young people before you send them to jail. And that is across the board. I mean, you talk about, you know, they criminalize our young people. In one of the schools that we're in, I remember their school was on lockdown, and I remember they had police officers come in and search first graders, literally police officers. And I was frustrated. I ran up to the school. I'm like, how come you can't get a teacher or a mom to search their book bags instead of having police officers search them? That same school, I remember them handcuffing a young boy and taking him out. It's a middle school, right? So those are the type of things that we have to look at and say, that may not be the best way to handle it, because you're already putting them in a system and putting them in a mindset of being a criminal. Yes. First grade now, mind you, first grade, police officers with guns searching their book bags. That should never happen to any community or any child. And I think it's important that we address those issues and change some of the system that allows these things to happen in our community. What was the second part of your question? The
second question was the parents who are traumatized every day. And let me tell you why. Like you, I do quietly, now you're learning, that I've been in some of the schools in Philadelphia working with young people. And one of the things they say is that they can't tell their parents what they're going through because their parents are already struggling. Their parents are struggling to go to work and hold down 2 jobs, and they feel like everybody's judging them and they don't know what to do. How can we lift up those parents and help them? Because they are a victim of where they live, where their children have been thrown into schools that are not always the best for them, even though schools are doing the best that they can. That's another story for another day. And they feel judged and bereft, and we spend a lot of times going into their homes, et cetera, just talking to them, right? So what can we do to help parents who are left in that situation versus calling them in and saying, we're going to tell you what you need to do to make sure your children aren't criminals, kind of thing? You know, how do we see them from an asset perspective?
I'm smiling because you're right on. We see it all the time. So what we say is engagement is so important, and building those relationships is so important. We see the strain. It's like almost a natural strain between parents and administration in schools, right? The parents don't like the teachers because of what the child might have said. The teachers don't like the parents because of how the parents react to how they felt their children were treated. So we go in as advocates for the parents. So we can be that conduit, so to speak, between the parents and the administration that can cushion some of the stuff. I'll give you another example. We were at one of the schools. I don't know the name of the school. We were at one of the schools. We used to go outside and help the children get on the bus. So a fight happened. Two young men were fighting. Well, actually three. Two was jumping another one. So the young man that was getting jumped, I ran up to break it up. We're breaking it up. Next thing you know, this woman runs up real quick, and she's hot. She's upset. She's really, really upset. And I started talking to her, and she started talking about spinning the block. If you know what spinning the block is.
No, we don't. So can you?
They go around the block, and then they're going to come back and shoot up the block.
Oh, wow.
So this was a mom, right? Because she was frustrated that her son got jumped. So while I'm walking her back to her car, I'm talking to her, right? And I said, ma'am, you don't want to go through that. You don't want to do that. And I get to her car, and she said, my other son was just murdered a month ago.
Yeah.
So in my mind, she's already traumatized by her other son being murdered. So she's saying that's not going to happen to this son. I'm going to protect him. The school wants to prosecute her for saying that, but she's already traumatized. So she's thinking in her mind, I'm going to get back at these folks because somebody did something to my other son. So once you engage them, you start hearing these things. I was able to get her in the car. She didn't come back. We talked to her. But one of the things we do to engage parents, too, like today when I leave here, we're going to go to Roosevelt Middle School and give out bags of groceries, right? A lot of people think that is just for food insecurity. No. It helps families that need food, but it's to engage and build relationships with those parents of those students that we are mentoring in that school, right? I remember last year, 2 years ago, actually, we started out there giving out bags. We would bring pretzels and water ice and give it out. Parents would come up, young parents, really like in their 30s. Because this is a middle school. They wouldn't engage us at all the first couple of weeks. Next thing you know, we're talking. They come get a pretzel or some water ice. Then they come get a bag. Now we're talking to these young men in their 30s. Oh, we can probably use you to volunteer help. Now we can have conversations because we're giving them something and they're opening up. When we build that relationship and they have an issue in the school, come see us. Don't go up there to fight a teacher. Don't go up there to beat nobody up or jump in a fight with your child. We're going to be out there. We're going to be out there after school, making sure your child don't get in anything. Let us handle it, okay? And that is the type of relationships we want to build around schools, because one thing we know, when Black men are in schools, the atmosphere changes automatically.
Yes.
When we walk in Martin Luther King High School, Pastor, and we have that orange on, what's up, OGs? What's up, OGs? And they can be cursing in the halls or doing stuff in the halls. Oh, my bad. Yes. We was in the TikTok today with the young people. We were coming out of getting pizza, and they were out there doing TikTok. They probably thought we was going to say stop. 3 of our guys just joined in with them and kept it rolling. But those are the type of things that build relationships that they're willing to open up and talk to you.
Yeah. I have one more question, Pastor Wall, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Would you say that you were considered a knucklehead growing up, and what saved you?
I was considered a knucklehead. I mean, the parents on the block, we had the driveway. We'd be out in the driveway acting crazy, smoking weed, whatever. I'm gonna tell your mom, Joey Bud. I'm gonna tell your mom. They would tell my mom. I would get in trouble, and I'll go do the same thing. I did all of those things that these young people are doing now. The difference is that the murder rate, the incidents that cause murder now are so small. I mean, it could be the smallest thing that somebody could be murdered over. You laughed on my Instagram page, or you said something I didn't like. You disrespected me, and now it escalates to somebody being murdered at 16 years old. But all of those things we did, from selling drugs, I've been shot before, I've been beat up by the police. All of those things is a part of my growing up that I believe helps us. And most of our guys, have been out there, have been arrested or involved in the drug trade or whatever. But by God's grace and parents that jumped in, and those things, I think, helped us to turn the page And now we're saying, how can we help those other young folks avoid the same things that we went through? And that's why we believe we're credible message. I talked to the guys today about it, because they were sitting there acting like they thought we didn't know what was happening. So I had to tell them that, we're not that far removed. Yes. And we tell them, when we go in and we tell them we love them, they look at us all funny. I was like, why y'all looking like that? Y'all want to know why I love you? I love you because you are me. I was you, right? I was you in 9th grade cutting class at Martin Luther King High School. I was you on the campus smoking weed. I was you fighting, running home because Summersville was chasing me because I lived in Haynes Street. If you know all that, that's some of the gangs in,
right,
in the Northwest. But these are things that they can relate to. And once you do that, the resources that Enon or other organizations provide for us can help them to change. And I think that's an important piece.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your transparency.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe, for the way that you are invested. Now, I'm sure there's a brother that's sitting out here saying, I want to be a part of something like that. How do you get engaged with your organization? What's that process?
Matter of fact, Pastor, one of the guys from that meeting that you brought from Enon came up to King today. So he wanted to get engaged. But one of the things we do is we vet everybody that comes in our spaces, right? Yeah. So the first thing we do is we have them come to our food distribution. We give out food every Saturday to the community. So the one thing that we make sure that we engage those folks to find out where they are, because not everybody is built to go and deal with our young people.
Right.
We have seen guys come in our spaces, and of course a young person said something they didn't like, they want to grip them up. One of our guys, actually, we had to pull out of the school. So you have to have the right temperament to go in and deal with young people, because they are going to try you. They may disrespect you, but if you're there for the right reasons, you know how to handle that. So we vet them. They can call me personally. My number is 267-784-7975. You can reach out to me. We will talk to you, bring you in, go through that process. Then we take you maybe on the street corners. We do street corner ministry where we go on the street corners, pull guys right off the corner. Maybe we'll take you there. But before going in schools, you got to get all your clearances and all of those things. And when you go through a higher vetting process to go into schools, because we're going to be around young women, we're going to be around young men that may not be as respectful as some of our old heads or some of our guys like. We also have a program for young guys, because a lot of young guys will say, I have to work on that day. So we're working with employers, trying to get employers to give them that day off and pay them. So we're going to have a proposal put together with information about the work we're doing. And then they can go to their employer and say, I'm serving the community on this day. Can I get paid for that day? Not all employers are going to do it, but it's worth a shot to see what employers, because that's one of the things that hinders some of the younger guys in their 30s and 40s, who we need. We need those younger guys, because we old heads, we in our 60s. If we can get guys 30 and below, yeah, you just got there, bro.
Land down.
So we are up there, and we need those younger guys because of more connection. We had a young guy in there talking to him today, and he gave it to him raw. And they opened up right after that, So it's a matter of engaging our young people. And talking about voting, I just got to say this, Pastor. A lot of our young people and not so young, the 30-something, when we do the street corner thing, they are more engaged than people think. I'm talking about right off the corner.
Yeah.
They are more engaged than people think, but we just have to make sure we're bringing the information. So they might have a case or something, or they might have been in jail. A lot of them don't know they can vote. So we got to get that information to them and bring them and educate them on the voting process because they want to vote. And when we have these conversations and stuff start coming out, and I mean, these same cats was out there just smoking weed, and then they come over and sit in our circle, and we're having some deep, deep conversations, and they're talking about what's happening, right? So we got to make sure that we're showing them where the voting polls are, letting them know where they can go, how they can vote, and getting them the information.
Thank you for that. And thank you for helping us look into your world. He talked about funding, and there are a number of sources out there. I'm just going to kind of call it, Larry Krasner, I know that there is monies available to organizations like this that you use when you when you're able to turn monies around from cases that you have prosecuted. Brother Watlington, I know that 1% of the school district budget can be used to go towards things like this. Marcus Allen, I know that you are looking for men to pay to do the new program when you're working through 6th through 8th graders. Those names that I just called are the types of programs, and these are the men that are actually doing the work. They lead work first. You know, I've been in Philadelphia now for 30 years, and I've found that often you'll see people who spend more time trying to put the organization together to find money. But these are men who put the work in and then built an organization around the work and are open to getting funding, and this is good work. There is, I had an opportunity to see some statistical analysis of what happened at Roxborough and at Martin Luther King as a result of these organizations going in, the number of young people that were literally turned around. And that's the stuff that we're looking for. We're looking for results. And you are producing results. We know you know that it is happening as a result of what the Lord has done in your life. And it's also very evangelistic. There are persons who come through them into the church. I will not hide the fact that my motivation for everything that I do is ultimately, I want to introduce somebody to Jesus Christ. And so I'm not ashamed of that. And I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you, Andrea, for the ways that you have even amplified my voice, because now that people know I hang out with you, man, I am somebody. And so I am grateful. So listen, those of you that are listening tonight, first of all, I want to thank you, because all last week, 8 Days of Glory has been ridiculous. It's just been a wonderful experience. I want to thank you for those that came out to our soul food dinner, those of you that came out each night for worship, those of you that brought canned goods. And so it's just been a good week, and we are looking forward to next week. Of course, tomorrow morning, we're closing out, which actually makes it the 9th day. But tomorrow morning, we are praying for everyone that is preaching the gospel, everyone that is involved in the church. Now, please remember, those of you from Enon, you know, after 8 Days of Glory, we give Sabbath rest to the building and to the workers. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we chilling, y'all. We're just chilling. We've been out for the last 8 days. And then now after that, it's going to be time to pull all these cans together and get ready for Thanksgiving. So thank you so much for tuning in again. Please remember, Men Who Care of Germantown, they are doing the work. You can give to them. You can volunteer to be with them, but make sure that you are taking in what you've heard, and make sure that you're looking for ways to give back in our community. Come on, let's get ready to go to God in prayer, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. God, I bless you and thank you. Thank you for Joe Budd and for his heart for our community. Thank you for the ways that you have used him to change lives, to help people. Thank you for the Men Who Care of Germantown. And thank you for the mantle that you have placed on them to be a vanguard in our community. I thank you, God, today for Andrea and what you are doing in her life. We're praying tonight for her venture with podcasts. We are thanking you for what she is doing to elevate young people all over our region. And then, God, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of a little bit of it. And I thank you for allowing me and allowing us to work together to share and spread your name and to bring hope, help, and healing to the world. Now, as we get ready to leave this place, but never from your saving grace, Lord, give us traveling grace until we meet again. It is through Christ, and for his sake we do pray. Let us all say, amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much. God bless you and God keep you is my prayer.